Hey guys, Dane here again. I'm going to be talking with you this week about a hypothetical writing prompt that I might use in an algebra class, and then the rubric that I would give the students to let them know how I will be grading their assignment. So here goes with the question. How would you explain to a friend who hasn't learned about absolute value equations why you can never find an x value which would make the absolute value of 4x minus 2 plus 12 equals negative 6? And if that was a mouthful there, I am going to have this posted down below my video so you guys can see it. Let's see, the other thing that I'm going to have with this question is just a little remember to. So it's also going to say, remember to write in as much detail as possible. Write in complete paragraphs, use mathematical vocabulary and equations, and use equation editor in Word to input the equations, just to give the students a little bit of guidance on what I'm expecting. As far as length and all that I'm expecting, I think on this one, about a half page of 12-point double space should be somewhere, I don't know, maybe around 8 sentences or so, just so they can really have to stretch their thinking on this. The standard that this is going to be following is, well, the standard will be listed there. I'm not going to read that for you guys. But the main idea of the standard is for students to be able to explain each step in solving a simple equation as following from the equality of numbers asserted at the previous step, starting from the assumption that the original equation has a solution. Construct a viable argument to justify the solution method. So I think that the key in this one is going to be recognizing that in this problem that I've given, the original equation actually doesn't have a solution. So recognizing that right off the bat. All right, so some of the things that students will need to have an understanding of before this writing assignment are as follows. So students will already understand the purpose and representation of absolute value as representing distance and therefore needing to be positive values. The goal in this activity is for them to recognize that an absolute value can never equal a negative value. For them to evaluate this equation, they will first need to isolate the absolute value by demonstrating a working knowledge of the methods for manipulating equations. A student who doesn't recognize initially that the absolute value can't equal a negative number will still be able to isolate the x variable and get their two values. The cool thing is that even though they've gotten answers, if they remember that for these types of equations you need to check your answer, they'll find that when they plug those values in, that they'll give them invalid statements. So that should be able to, that'll allow them to go back and reassess and change how they would explain this to their friend. I think that this writing prompt is a good opportunity for students to take what they've already learned and, while working with equations, number lines, and graphs, and show that they understand the main characteristic of absolute values. One thing that I like about the prompt is the students can very easily state that an absolute value can never equal a negative value and just be done right there while putting very little thought into the activity. However, due to the length of the writing assignment and the fact that I'm expecting, a series of sentences, they'll need to go deeper into their understanding about what they know about these problems, even tying in previous content. They can talk about their geometric understanding, or even going and writing out the steps that are needed to solve or to simplify this equation, and then how they would go about checking their answers. Let's see. So the operative verb that I chose to use was explain. And the reason why I did this was I felt that by giving students a hypothetical experience where they got to play the role of a teacher, students can expand on some of the ideas that they felt were beneficial to them as they learned about the concept. So I think that's beneficial for them. And I think it's also good for me as a teacher to hear what they think worked for them. So let's see. The assignment is meant to give students the ability to explain and demonstrate their understanding of the problem in several different ways. So I'm not looking for just one right answer necessarily. There's a couple. So let's see. The main thing that I hope to see would be a student's ability to analyze a problem before attempting it. So that's always a good idea, to try to just see what's going on before you start taking the problem apart. So if they do that, hopefully they'll see that the problem doesn't have any solutions. Or if they don't catch that right off the bat, as I stated before, it'll let them go through and simplify the problem algebraically, and then check their solution for validity, at which point they'll see that there are actually no solutions. So a student that wrote about either of these methods, they'd be within the realm of what I'd hope for them to take away from the absolute values concept. The reason that I think that explain is a good verb for the activity is based on my belief, and one that I share with my students often, is that if they can't put their understanding of problems into words, then they probably don't have a good understanding of the concept. And without that, ability to explain their knowledge, I don't think that students, or I guess I should say, I think that they'd have a more difficult time determining when to use those concepts in application problems, and I think that their likelihood of forgetting those concepts will be greater. Let's see, so I'm going to go through my rubric now, which I'll also have that posted down below my video link. So let's see, so I had 4 categories that I thought fit this writing assignment pretty well. First category being explanation, so just how well did they explain to their hypothetical friend. And so I did a grading, well, I guess that the point system is with 4 points. So let's see, and I guess I don't really need to go through that. I'll let you guys look down below. The other one, neatness and organization. Anytime I give an assignment, especially any kind of math assignment, it's really important for students to be able to learn how to write in a way that's easily understandable and clearly organized. Mathematical concepts, so understanding of all the different steps that they took, from understanding what is an absolute value to how did we isolate that thing algebraically and to solve it, how did we check our answers, things like that. And then their reasoning, kind of along the same lines, but whether they noticed off the bat, oh, well, it's negative, so can't do it, or their reasoning was that, didn't see it, so check my answers, plug it in. So using that, I think that this should give students a good base understanding of what I'm looking for from the assignment. Let's see, outside of just the writing assignment itself, one of the things I like to do, since my class uses an online organizer for keeping track of homework, I like to assign blog assignments where the students will actually post shorter writing assignments on there for everyone to read and then comment on. So since I'm not necessarily looking for just one right answer, that'll give students the opportunity to read through what some of their other peers thought and respond. Whether it's just in their methods of how they would explain to a friend, or maybe coming about it from a different point of view that they didn't see. All right, well, that's all I have for you guys this week. I guess I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. All right, have a good night.